Welcome to the Rimworld mod rundown. We'll be taking a quick look at what you can expect to see from Vanilla Weapons Expanded Frontier. For starters, you'll need to own the additional workshop content, Vanilla Expanded Framework and Harmony. Whilst not required, this mod does have integrations with Vanilla Weapons Expanded Quick Draw, Heavy, Coil Guns and Laser. As you guess by that shopping list of additional mods, Frontier Weapons adds a good chunk of new boomsticks to your game. Ideally paired alongside Vanilla Expanded Settlers, Frontier Weapons provides a bridge between the somewhat dramatic jump in weapons tech at the industrial level, giving you more options for cartridge, lever and revolver based weapons. I'll break it down mod by mod so you know what is coming from where, so let's start with what you get if you're only using Frontier. First off, all of these guns run with a new mechanic, the High Roller. This is reflected in their cost, with almost all weapons included in this rundown requiring a small amount of gold to fabricate. High Roller adds a 10% crit chance to any shot made by the weapon, potentially dealing double damage. Obviously this works both ways, with enemy raiders typically turning up with the numbers advantage, so they're getting a lot more chances to roll and hit that 10%. Although if you find yourself needing that sweet dopamine from hitting just one more good roll, Frontier guns can give you that fix. The next one will definitely hit after all, right?
You will lose. I'm losing. Do you understand? I am down millions.
This translates over in the game as all Frontier guns acting like your pawn-picked bloody mess, occasionally removing entire body parts with a seemingly impossible shot. Given the already high baseline damage of some of these weapons, they probably aren't an optimal choice if you want prisoners that are in decent condition by the end of a fight. You'd have better luck using frag grenades in that case. You'll start being able to build these weapons after researching gunsmithing, with all standard Frontier weapons included in their own research of the same name, making them a very accessible weapon choice. So what have we got? Let's start with the Heavy Revolver. Compared to a standard vanilla revolver, this deals 5 more damage per shot, with 8% more armor penetration, at the low cost of only an extra 0.1 second of aiming time. The accuracy values are the same, and it's packing that high roller mechanic, which means that only the torso is strong enough to withstand an unmitigated crit from this weapon. Realistically, whilst yes it's more expensive to create, there is no downside to using this over a standard revolver. Although by the same token, nobody's using a revolver because they want to use a revolver. It's normally a weapon of necessity as you wait for something that packs a bit more of a punch. Expect to see these frequently offered at masterwork quality as early game quest rewards because of their affordable market value. Next up is the Volcanic Pistol, comparable to an auto pistol. It deals the same damage, has the same penetration, about the same range, slightly better accuracy, a marginally longer aiming time, a substantially longer cooldown, but it fires 2 shots instead of the 1. This weapon on raiders will quickly become a nightmare for stagger potential, with them throwing out highly accurate, close range salvos of niggling damage that stops your pawns from getting out of harm's way. It runs the risk of making a pawn face death by 1,000 cuts, rather than outright obliterating them, as you desperately try and pull them away from the enemy to get them to safety. Now we've got another pistol, because this mod loves handguns. The Frontier pistol is something to compare against the auto pistol again, with 2 less damage, lower penetration, equal accuracy and range, with even its aiming time and cooldown about the same. This is probably one of the better balanced weapons in regards to its high roller mechanic versus a vanilla weapon, as it'll rely on landing those crits to justify its existence over using a normal auto pistol. If any weapon in this pack had the potential to take prisoners though, it's this one. A quick slap of damage with the lowest risk of blowing off limbs, as even its crit is still not enough to get through arms, legs, the neck or the head. It can still easily take out eyes, fingers and vitals though, so it's not an assurance of safety, just a better chance of one. Here comes something a little bigger, the Rolling Block Rifle. Comparable to a sniper rifle and obtainable far easier with its minimal research investment. It deals a little less damage, has lower armor penetration and 5 less range. However, this gun is packing the same accuracy, cooldown and half of the aiming time. Add into that the 10% chance to deal 42 damage instead, and suddenly this thing is a goddamn monster. You'll be in real danger during early to mid game raids if enemies turn up using these, as they outrange almost all of the weapons you're likely to be using by then. Not only that, Even if you are to the point of using sniper rifles of your own, they can get their shots off in half the time it takes for your own snipers to line up a shot, running the risk that your marksmen are outgunned by a fluke shot. And finally, from the Frontier research, we've got the repeating shotgun. Likely closest to the pump shotgun and its function, it deals 2 more damage, a touch more stagger and armor penetration, has the same range, near identical accuracy values, and a little longer of a ranged cooldown. Due to its high roller mechanic, this weapon runs the potential of insta-gibs, turning a pawn's torso inside out with a lucky shot. Its simply absurd damage and stagger profile make it an ideal early option for holding the line against infestations, and fortunately, because this is Rimworld, ammo isn't an issue, so you can hold a line for as long as you need.
How many shells do you have in that gun?
I got 57 more goddamn rounds in this 4-round magazine.
Now, onto the additions from Quick Draw. These will unlock with the Quick Draw research too, so no additional projects needed. First up, you've got the Derringer. Again, it compares alongside an auto pistol for the most part. Same damage, a little more stagger, equal penetration and range, a little worse in terms of accuracy, near instant firing time, but a longer cooldown to compensate. Realistically, the Derringer won't be something that you'll use, and when you see raiders with it, you'll probably laugh. It's still perfectly capable of destroying a brain or a heart though, with its crits removing entire hands and feet, just like all of your exes said. Honestly babe, size doesn't matter. The other gun from Quick Draw is the lever action shotgun. Iconic, badass, and astronomically powerful for clearing buildings. Against a pump action shotgun, it deals a touch less damage, staggers and penetrates a little bit more, has almost exactly the same accuracy but cuts all of that aiming time down for a slightly longer ranged cooldown. If you have drop pods land in your base, this is an easy way to always get off that first deadly salvo. It works great for covering the retreat of your pawns as they try and open a door to get inside, allowing your gunners to quickly lean out and slow whoever or whatever was chasing them, if not outright killing them. For a long time this was my go-to weapon for CQC until I could get my grubby mitts on some chain shotguns. For heavy weapons, you're getting the handheld Gatling gun, and this thing is just... wow. Just really... wow. Firstly, it's a heavy weapon, so you're going to need the tough trait, power armor, or an exoskeleton to wield it. Weirdly, unlike other heavy weapons, its move speed penalty is minus 0.25 rather than the standard minus 0.2, and despite all of the flavour text around it, it takes no durability loss when used, most likely an oversight that slipped the net during a patch. Now for the real bad news. It deals 7 damage on a 12-shot burst. However, its range is worse than a handgun, and its accuracy is essentially down to luck, like trying to unlock your front door after a night of heavy drinking.
You got a piece of gunner!
Not only that, it's got a god-awful firing rate, aiming time, and ranged cooldown, so chances are you're already dead by the time this thing gets off a single shot. For 150 steel, 20 components, and 30 gold, this thing does have one potential use, and that's to smelt it down. With Gauss weapons, you've got a couple of new options, with these guns combining the best of both worlds. Shots that penetrate bodies, walls, and obstacles, as well as being able to crit for double damage. This line of operation obviously puts Gauss weapons in a class of their own, as comparing them to a weapon that can only hit a single target is entirely unfair. The revolver does 16 damage at a standard handgun range and can easily fan the hammer to spit out a massive chunk of pain pretty rapidly. Also, as always, remember who in your colony is carrying Gauss, and for the love of God don't put it on a hunter, otherwise you'll quickly find out just how little they care about obstructions or collateral damage whilst doing their job. Next up is the Gauss Repeater, swapping a little damage for some extra range, whilst also taking significantly longer to line up their shot. Realistically, the Repeater is always going to struggle when you've got an actual Gauss rifle at the same level of tech, which for a little bit less damage and a longer wind up and cooldown, you get 3 rounds out of. The crit mechanic in the repeater is nice, but it simply can't compete with the potential of a crit versus the reliability of 3 straight lines of damage being spat out from a rifle. The revolver at least has a niche in its low aiming time that allows it to work as a good flanking option, getting shots from the side of an enemy to clear up an entire firing line in one fell swoop. Now we're onto the new salvage laser weapons, and you're only getting salvaged options with this mod, so this will be adding potentially more unwanted rolls into your salvage laser pool. If you use them, that is. You won't be seeing any nice and shiny top quality laser frontier guns. As with all laser weapons, they have their charge up mode, which sees them aiming faster the longer they're used in a stationary position, with the risk being that firing these guns in this mode for an extended period of time will cause the battery to overheat and explode, damaging pawns stood around the shooter. The revolver packs a good chunk of armor penetration and damage, with its major downside being the range. It needs to be fired constantly to make use of its warm-up potential. Without that, it quickly becomes inferior to other normal weapons, much less high-tech choices, and that range will see targets frequently just walk out of danger and shrug. The same issue comes in with the salvage laser repeater. It has a limited range, so its nice accuracy, penetration and damage are simply wasted as it requires uninterrupted fire to fix its aiming time and get to any kind of reasonable level of damage. One thing you'll notice with a lot of the salvage weapons is their ingredients become more worthwhile than the initial craft. So if you've got a mod that allows you to deconstruct or smelt them with a better return ratio, it'd be a really cheesy thing to do, but it is an option, is all I'm saying. Finally, the salvaged laser hunting rifle, and this so nearly gets it. Good damage, awesome stopping power, unreal armor penetration, and its range isn't awful. Not quite sniper rifle levels of reach, but it's still serviceable. But then that aiming time, goddamn aiming time. 4.6 seconds? And the warm-up isn't going to happen instantly either. You need to get off a lot of shots before it's brought down to a reasonable level. To put that into perspective, this thing is brushing up against the anti-material rifle in terms of the stats from Vanilla Weapons Expanded, but that thing has a longer range and 56 damage for that aiming time. Admittedly, the anti-material rifle isn't getting any quicker when it fires, but that's because it normally lands a single shot and turns the target into vapour. Unfortunately, all of these new salvage weapons still struggle to earn their place and justify their cost, just like the ones included with the base laser mod. And there you have it, a big old chunk of new guns to mess around with. This is near enough an essential mod if you're going to run the Settlers faction, as it replaces all of their weapons with these to keep them more in theme. It'll also dramatically up the amount of pre-spacer weapons in your pool, helping with that early to mid game variety of weapon options that you can pick from traders, quests or loot from raiders. It does a lot more towards middle to close range weapons though, so if you find yourself using a lot of high distance rifles, chances are it'll give you a significant advantage in most encounters, as you can simply down half of the enemy forces before they get to retaliate. Remember, self-moderation is a thing. You don't always need to pick the biggest and loudest option. You can build a colony around a theme instead and play, dare I say it, suboptimally.
Oh god. Oh, I just did a bit sick in my own mouth. Oh god.
Thanks for watching folks. If you have any mods you'd like to see a full breakdown for, or suggestions of mods you'd like to see covered, feel free to leave them in the comments, I might get around to them. I'll be back again soon with another Rimworld mod rundown. Wherever you are in the world, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon or evening. Take care.